Hello everyone, welcome you all. From today's class onwards, we are going to see Indian polity, very important subject related to UPSC prelims as well as mains and also other government exams. See, from today's class onwards, we are particularly going to deal with M. Lashmikant book. We are going to cover all the chapters present in it. The chapter contains lot of contents. We are going to make those content into the parts so that we could able to cover all the important contents present in that particular chapter. In today's class, we are going to see the historical background. See, this historical background contains company rule as well as crown's rule. In today's class, we are going to see the company rule from the Regulating Act of 1773 up to Charter Act of 1853 so that it covers up to 1858. See, let us begin with the introduction part. Before seeing to the Regulating Act of 1773, one has to know the some modern history part also. Why British came into India, when British came into India, and how it is came. So those things very important. Let us start. See, in 1600, that is 1600, the British came into India as a trader in the form of East Indian Company. So that is very important. East Indian Company as a traders. See, by getting a charter granted by the Queen Elizabeth. So kindly remember. So it is the exclusive right of trading in India. So this East Indian Company came to India as a trader, but in 1765, this company just now it had only a purely trading functions. Just now we have discussed about that, but in 1765 it has obtained the rights. What do you mean by Diwani rights? So that is also very important related to the historical background, and also note that it also covers from the modern history part also. See here, during that Mughal emperor, okay, kindly remember Mughal emperor Shah Alam II, okay, Shah Alam II granted this Diwani right. Okay, Shah Alam II just granted these Diwani rights. Kindly remember the name Shah Alam II. Given the Diwani rights in the region of Bengal and then Bihar and then Orissa to the East Indian Company. Okay, to the East Indian Company in the year 1765. Okay, after the result of Battle of Buxar. Okay, kindly remember this battle also. This is very important battle. Okay, so those things we are to cover in the modern history part, but today onwards we are going to deal with the Indian polity. So that let us move on with the Regulating Act of 1773. See, this Regulating Act is very important. Why it is important? See, this act was a great constitutional importance because it was the first step taken by the British government to control and regulate the affairs of the East Indian Company in India. Also, this Regulating Act of 1773 recognized the first time the political and administrative function. Kindly remember, political and administrative functions of that company in India. Also, it laid down the central administration in India. So it has lot of features relating to the Act of 1773. Let us see what are the features present in it. See, before Regulating Act of 1773, the governor of Bengal, but this act made the governor of Bengal as the governor general of Bengal. Kindly remember this point. This is very important point. And also, this act created the executive council of 4 members to assist governor general of Bengal. And also note that the first such governor general was Lord Warren Hastings. So kindly remember those points, very important related to the prelims perspective. And also it made the governor of Bombay and Madras presidencies subordinate to the governor general of Bengal. But earlier the three presidencies were independent of one another. But after this act, it made Governor General of Bengal is the superior, which means the Governor of Bombay and Madras will be the subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal. Also, this act provided establishment of the Supreme Court at Kolkata in the year 1774. It has one chief judge and then three other judges. Also, this company prohibits, which means this regulating act prohibits the servant of the company from engaging any private trades or accepting the gift or the bribes from the natives that is present in the India. Okay, and also note that it strengthened. This is very important. It strengthened the control of the British government over the company by requiring the court of directors. Okay, that is very important. Court of directors. The court of directors is nothing but the governing body. Okay, so kindly remember, governing body of the company to report its revenue matter and then civil matter and military affairs in India to the British government. So therefore, this act plays very vital role, but this act has some flaws also. To overcome these flaws, it made amending Act of 1781, and also to rectify the defects present in the regulating Act of 1773, the British Parliament passed the amending Act of 1781. This act famously called as Act of Settlements. See, let us see the key features related to this. See, it exempted the Governor General and their council from the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for the acts done by them in their official capacity, which means if Governor General and his council take any decision, it is immune from the Supreme Court, which means the Supreme Court cannot enter in the decisions made by the Governor General and their council. That is called as act done by them in their official capacity. Okay, the Supreme Court has no role with to the Governor General and his council, and also it excluded the governor, which means it exempted the servants of the company from the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court from their official action, which means if a servant of that company does particular action with respect to the official capacity, the Supreme Court cannot enter into involved into their official activities. And also note that it excluded the revenue matters and matters arising in the collection of revenues, which is also from the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So therefore, the Supreme Court and Governor General Council as separated. It has no role, okay, together. So that is very important. It excluded the revenue matters and the matters arising in the collection of revenue from the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And also note that it provided the Supreme Court was to have the jurisdiction over all the of Calcutta, which means it also required the court to administer the personal laws of the defendants, which means who is the defendants? The people here. Okay, the Hindus were to be tried according to the Hindu law. The Muslims were to be tried according to the Mohammedan law, that is Muslim law. And also this act made, that is, see, this act makes a provincial court, that is appeal from the provincial court could be taken into the governor in council. Kindly remember, this is very important. It laid down that appeals from that provincial council could be taken into the governor in council but not to the Supreme Court. So kindly remember, this is very important related to the amending Act of 1781. And also the next act is very important. Before that, let us see the one more point here. Also, this act empowers the Governor General in Council to frame regulations for these provincial courts and their councils. So with this, we are moving to the Pickts India Act. It is very famous act. Why the Picts? So that is important. See, while making this act, the young Prime Minister Pitt was the Prime Minister of British. Therefore, it famously called as Pickts India Act of 1784. Let us see the features one by one. See, this executes, that means it distinguished between the commercial and political affairs of the company. See, before this act, the commercial and political functions of the companies were with the East Indian Company, but it This act, okay, distinguish between the commercial and political functions of the company, allows the court of directors only to manage the company, the commercial affairs, whereas it has created the board of control. Kindly remember this board of control to manage the political affairs. And note that it established a double government. The double government is nothing but the board of control and court of directors. It created a new body, okay, that is called as board of control to manage the political affairs, which means it established the system of double government. And also it empowers the board of control, okay, to given more powers to supervise, okay, civil and military governments and revenue of the British possession in India. Kindly remember the word British possession in India. First time this British government using the word British possession in India. Also note that this act was very significant for two reasons. Because this company territories in India were the first time called as British possession in India, and also secondly, the British government was given the supreme control over the company's affairs and its administration in India, which means the British government taking the possession step by step. So that is why this act is very important. So after this act of 1786 came, okay, but let us see one more point here. Just now we have discussed the British government was given the supreme control over the company's affairs and its administration in India. So why act of 1786? That is very important. See, after regulating act of 1773, it was appointed Lord William Bentinck as the Governor General of Bengal. See here in the year of 1786, it appointed Lord Cornwallis was the Governor General of Bengal. To accept post, he just put forward two demands. What are they? See, he should be given more powers to override the decision of his council in special cases. So that is very important. He should be given more powers. See, this Governor General Council, suppose taking a some decision, he is nothing but the Governor General of Bengal. He needs a more power to override the such decision made by the council in special cases, and also note that it is not in the normal circumstances. And also he just put forward one more demand, that is he would also be the commander in chief. So these two demands were accepted by the British. Therefore, accordingly, the Act of 1786 was enacted to make both the provisions. After that, it make Charter Act of 1793. So kindly remember, this was the first step. It established overriding powers given to the Lord Cornwallis to his council, to all the future governor generals and all the governors of presidencies, which means governor general and then the presidencies, in the sense Madras presidency and then Bombay presidency and then Calcutta presidencies. And also it gave the governor general more powers and to control over the governments of the subordinate presidencies, which means the presidencies of Bombay and Madras. And also it extended the trade monopoly of the company in India in another period of 20 years. And also note that in the last act, that is Act of 1786, he just put forward the one demand called as he should be the commander in chief. But in this act, it provided that the commander in chief was not to be the member of Governor General's Council unless appointed. See, Lord Cornwallis was the appointed person. So therefore, he made as a commander in chief. But in this charter, it provided that commander in chief was not to be the member of the Governor General Council unless he was appointed. And also note that it laid down that the members of the Board of Control and their staffs, here their salaries to be paid out of the Indian revenues. This act made such changes. Before this act, the payment was made through the British government. After this act was enacted, their salaries, that is Board of Control and their staffs, to be paid out of the Indian revenues. So this is the most important thing related to the Charter Act of 1793. Let us move on with the Charter Act of 1813. So that is very important act. See, this act abolishes the trade monopoly of the company in India, which means the Indian open to all the British merchants, not only the East Indian Company. So kindly remember these points. Also, it has continued the monopoly of the company over the trade in tea alone, but the trade with China was continued. Okay, kindly remember this point. It abolishes the trade monopoly of the company in India, but not with the tea. Okay, but it has proceeded this monopoly of the trade with China. So kindly remember those points. And also it asserted the sovereignty of British Crown over the company's territories in India. Sovereignty is nothing but the supreme authority. Okay, so kindly remember the sovereignty is nothing but supreme authority. Okay, the supreme authority was given to the British Crown over the company's territory in India. And also this act allowed, so kindly remember this act 1813 allowed Christian missionaries to come into India for the purpose of enlightening the people. And also note that this act provided for the spread of Western education among the, that is, inhabitants of the British territories in India. Also, this act recognized the local government in India to impose the taxes on the person. So that is very important. It imposes taxes on the person. If a person fails to pay the tax, he or she surely will be punished. That is, they could be punished the persons for not paying the taxes. So therefore this act is very important with respect to these features. So kindly remember. After that, Charter Act of 1833. So this was the final step towards the centralizations of British India. So this act has lot of features. So let us see. It made Governor General of Bengal into Governor General of India. Kindly remember that is very important. We may expect the statements like this. Okay, the Governor General of Bengal into the Governor General of India. And also he vested him the powers called as civil and military powers. And also note that the first time the government of India having authority over the entire territorial area possessed by the British India. And also Lord Wendim. Okay, so kindly remember this is very important. Lord William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. So kindly remember this is very important. Lord William Bentinck, okay, was the first Governor General of India. And also very important point, it deprived the Governor of Bombay and Madras of their legislative powers, which means these powers given to the Governor General of India. So that the Governor General of India was given exclusive legislative powers for the entire British India. And also note that the laws made under the previous acts were called as the regulations, but while laws made under this act were called as the acts. So kindly remember those points also. And remember that this act ended the activity of East Indian Company as a commercial body, but as of now it proceeding like a purely administrative body, which means it provided that the company's territory India were held by its trust for its majesty, its heirs and successors. This Charter Act of 1833 also attempted to introduce a system of open competition for selection of civil servants and stated that Indians should not be barred from holding any places, offices and employments in the company. But however, these provisions were opposed by the Court of Directors. So Court of Directors opposed this. Therefore, this system fails. So it made Charter Act of 1853. So this was the last series of Charter Act passed by the British Parliament between 1793 and 1853. Also, this act was the significant constitutional landmarks also. Let us see the key features here. See, it separated for the first time legislative and executive functions. Kindly remember, first time separated the legislative and executive functions of the Governor General's Council. We may expect a statement like this. Okay, which act separated first time legislative and executive functions of the Governor General Council? The answer would be Charter Act of 1853. So kindly remember. See, which means it establishes the Governor General's Legislative Council, and also which came to be known as Indian Central Legislative Council, which means this legislative wing of the council function as the mini parliament. So kindly remember the word mini parliament. If you find mini parliament, okay, the word mini parliament in the question, so it is directly you may answer that Charter Act of 1853. And also note that the legislation for the first time was treated as the special functions of the government, and also it requiring special machineries and special processes. So here in the last attempt, that is Charter Act of 1833, it just made to open a civil competitive, okay, open competitive system, okay. But in this act, it introduced the open competitive system of selection and recruitment of civil servants, by which it is open to the Indians also. Accordingly, the Macaulay Committee, the Committee on the Indian Civil Services, was appointed in 1854. Kindly remember, Macaulay Committee was appointed, okay, with respect to the Charter Act of 1853. See here, it extended the company rule, but kindly remember, it allowed to retain the possession of Indian territory only on the trust of British Crown. So in last charters, it specifies a particular period, like it extended the monopoly for 20 years. But during this act, Charter Act of 1853, it does not specify any particular period, unlike previous charters, which means it is the clear indication that the company rule could be terminated at any point that the parliament liked. If the parliament feels to terminate, surely it will terminate the company rule. So that was the clear indication given by the Charter of 1853. And also note that it introduced for the first time local representations in the Indian Legislative Council. Of the 6 new legislative members of the Governor General Council, here 4 members will be appointed. Okay, the 4 members were appointed by the local in the sense local provincial government of Madras, and then Bombay, and then Bengal, and then Agra, to assist a Governor General Council. So with this, we are winding up the company rule. So in the next class, we are going to see a Crown's rule, that is from Government of India Act of 1858. If you have any doubts related to this, you may just type in the comment section. We will try to clarify your doubts. Okay, with this, I am concluding this session. We will meet in the next class. Have a good day.